Here's your host, Dieter Kurtenbach.
Well, this ball game is official, which means we are officially starting up Sports Phone KNBR this evening. Dieter Kurtenbach with you until Dubs OT with JD. That's DK leading to JD after, well, there won't be OT in this Dubs game. They're taking care of business, which is exactly what they needed to do after whatever the hell that was against the San Antonio Spurs. We'll get into all that a little bit later. We'll go over what happened for the final time, promise, because I think we've done about 5 recaps now, but we'll go over for the final time what happened in New York City tonight with the San Francisco Giants. And then we're going to talk to an old friend. If you're a longtime listener back in the KNBR Tonight days, you know I'm excited to talk to our good friend Jake Hutchinson, 49ers insider, about the NFL draft and just where things stand with the San Francisco 49ers. We're living through strange times, folks, and I don't know if there's any place stranger right now than 49-49. We're going to throw to a quick break. We're backed up, but we're going to have nothing but hot sports takes and fun sports conversations. 808 KNBR is the number if you want to get in. It is Sports Phone KNBR after all. Dieter Kurtenbach with you on the Sports Leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sports Phone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
He was an all-star as recently as 2023. As Lee swings, drives a high fly ball, deep right center, hit well, Judge back, it is gone! What a start for the Giants here in New York. Jung-Hoo Lee launches a 3-run home run, and 3 batters into the game, it's 3-0 Giants.
A lead they'd never relinquish. Giants put 5 on the board on Marcus Stroman, who was just throwing batting practice to start this game. Put 5 on the board before he got an out. He only got 2 of them before he got pulled. They only played 5-something innings. I mean, they were in the top of the 6 before they just called the game. And the Yankees straight up, I know this sounds hyperbolic. The Yankees did not think they were going to play today. I think a lot of people had that mindset, apparently. I'd heard from a few. FP mentioned it on the broadcast that, there's no way they're playing today with this weather. Aaron Boone complaining about the weather in his post-game press conference. I don't think the Yankees were ready to play this game. If you need any more evidence so they weren't warming up before the game, FP's reporting and all that, how about putting 5 lefties in the lineup against a lefty starter? I understand that that's a lefty-heavy lineup that the Yankees have. Surely they're not obtuse, though. Surely the New York Yankees, the inventors of the torpedo bat, for whatever that's worth, clearly they have some people around that have some mental facilities about them. Best and the brightest, perhaps, even. Let's just go with 4 lefties against Robbie Ray. That should be fine, right? Wrong. Robbie Ray, 12 whiffs. He didn't even pitch well tonight. He walked 4 dudes. He almost got taken a yard by Austin Wells. Still struck out 7. Still never really, he broke a sweat mainly because it was raining and he was throwing a lot of pitches and his pants are too tight and he has to yell like a early aughts women's tennis player every time he throws. And these are all wonderful characteristics to have. We want personality in baseball. So to say that he didn't break a sweat is ridiculous. But was there really any stressful moments? No, the game was over. The game was over before Robbie Ray took the mound, so long as he wasn't abysmal, and he certainly was not that today. And it has not been a great start for Robbie Ray. If you were to just look at the box scores, you'd say, is this really working out? Is this guy? Logan Webb has been marvelous. Justin Verlander has not been. And then you're thinking, okay, number 3 starter like Robbie Ray, what you got for us? And if you just look at the numbers, you're going, I'm not so sure about that. I think his expected ERA is above 7, all these things. I see a guy who is just working into it. I see a guy who understands this a long season, guy who I know he pitched at the end of last year, but he knows that he's got a marathon in front of him for the first time in a couple of years now. And I see someone who's just getting a little bit better and better and better. And by the time that this weather turns, by the time it is on the East Coast 80, 85, 90 degrees every day, by the time over here when it's just sunny all the time and rain is no longer in the forecast, because we got a little sprinkling this week, not New York level sprinkle, but we got a little sprinkle this week. By that time, once we get into the end of April, May, certainly June, once we start playing baseball, right? That's baseball, not this 35-degree nonsense where they're forcing you out there. Once you start wanting to go to the ballpark, that's when Robbie Ray is going to finish his warm-up. He's going to be in a bit of a lather, and he's going to be ready to get down to business. I'm very bullish on Robbie Ray for the rest of the campaign. And, he gets the win with only 4 innings pitched tonight. A fun quirk of the game of baseball. By the way, a good friend of the show, Alex Simon, SF Bay or SF Gate, checking in, questioning, and I don't have the answer. I'm the wrong person to ask about this, but if the game was called in the top of the 6th, shouldn't everything revert back to the 5th? So the Giants win 8-1. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the night progresses. We're keeping an eye on the NBA scoreboard right now. Hot mess might be a way to describe this. That might be giving it too much credit. I want to run through very quickly, and I'm going to do my absolute best. I'm going to need all of my powers of journalism and persuasion right now. I am going to try to run through very quickly what tonight's NBA action means for the Golden State Warriors, who lead at halftime in Portland. If the Warriors win tonight and both Minnesota and Memphis lose, the Warriors are in and Sunday does not matter, so long as the Warriors are content with the 6th seed. As it stands, the Grizzlies have a chance to lose. They lead by 1 against the Denver Nuggets with about 3.5 to go, according to the scoreboard I'm looking at right now. The Timberwolves will not lose because they are playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have no interest in winning a basketball game. And currently the Timberwolves are up by 18 points halfway through the fourth quarter. They will win that game. So the Warriors cannot clinch tonight. Mathematically, it is. Something to keep an eye on, though. This is something that I was not privy to until a couple of hours ago, when the NBA sent out postseason scenarios, April 11, a little dossier, a memo, if you will. Denver and the Clippers could both clinch a playoff spot tonight, okay? Denver just fired their head coach. Apparently, he wasn't very happy about that, as if Michael Malone has ever been happy. What, they call him Mike? Regardless, the Grizzlies and the Nuggets are playing tonight, and we're going to keep an eye on that one for you. That's a big game for seeding and all this stuff. If Memphis loses, they're locked into the play-in tournament so long as the Warriors take care of business. So Memphis is out, should Memphis lose. But if the Nuggets were to lose, and it is a tight game, we're just keeping an eye on it, and the Clippers were to win, the Clippers who are currently playing the Sacramento Kings in Sacramento, which is not quite the home of the A's, not that they would ever take credit for it. The Clippers at the Kings right now, if the Clippers win and Denver loses, stay with me, if the Clippers win and Denver lose tonight, the Clippers will have clinched a playoff spot. The Clippers will clinch a playoff spot if Denver loses tonight and the Clippers take care of business. That's very interesting to me, because while I'm certain there are a lot more questions of seeding and perhaps even home court advantage on the line, the Warriors, as it stands now, are just going to need to win both of the games they play for the remainder of the season to make the top 6 and avoid the play-in tournament. They have to win tonight in Portland. They're on their way, though they could be playing better. And they need to beat the LA Clippers on Sunday at 12:30 at Chase Center. I would much prefer that the Los Angeles Clippers have no interest in playing that game, much like the New York Yankees had no interest in playing baseball tonight in the Bronx. I would prefer, for Golden State's sake, that the Clippers are good with where they stand and effectively concede that game to the Golden State Warriors, giving the Warriors their second win that they so desperately need to avoid the play-in tournament, and giving the Warriors a week off in the process. Would it do Denver dirty? You bet. I don't care. That's their problem. Take care of your business. Don't fire your head coach, or fire your head coach earlier. I don't know what the problem was there. Maybe it's because you're paying Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray a combined $250 million for the next 2 years. Maybe that's your problem. And you got rid of all your other good players because your owner didn't want to pay the luxury tax. That seems to be more of your problem than your NBA championship winning head coach. But what do I know? I'm just following the Giants on the flagship. So again, to quickly recap, and we will keep an eye on this as we progress. If the Clippers win tonight, and the Warriors, who at the start of the second half are up by 13 points against the Portland Trail Blazers team, who are playing, and I truly mean this, a bunch of people I have never heard of before. I cover the NBA professionally. I don't know who that guy is. I think I know who that guy is, but I need to double check. If the Warriors take care of business, not a guarantee given what happened with the San Antonio Spurs the other night, but if the Warriors take care of business and the Clippers win and the Grizzlies beat the Nuggets, got all that? We got all that? Warriors could be in good shape. Now, that does not seem it's going to happen because it looks like the Nuggets are going to win that game in Memphis, completely rendering this entire segment moot. How about we talk about something that cannot blow up in my face within the next 30 to 40 minutes? Let's let all this dust settle, and let's see where everything lies. And in the meantime, let's talk about a team that's got some stuff going on. And by that, I mean very little going on other than a desperate need to nail this upcoming NFL draft. We're talking the San Francisco 49ers, and we're doing it with one of our favorite guests in the history of KNBR tonight, Sports Phone KNBR, whatever the hell you want to call it, this time slot. Jake Hutchinson makes his triumphant return to the show on the other side of the break. Kurtenbach with you until we know who's in the playoffs on the Sports Leader.
The nighttime is the right time for Sports Phone KNBR. Let's go on the sports leader. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Worked a full count here. The 3-2 is swing, a line drive over first. That's a fair ball, and it's going to head down into the corner. Judge to dig it out. Chapman has scored. Here comes Ramos flying around third. Hill scores standing up. And Lamont Wade Jr. with a 2-run double. It's 5-0 Giants, and still nobody out in the top of the first.
Big thanks to Marcus Stroman, making sure this game ended early. Had nothing to do with the weather. Had everything to do with the fact that the Yankees stunk so hard that they didn't want to be out on the diamond anymore. A lot of quitting the Yankees. Sure, that's going to work out for them in the long run. If there's something we know about these Giants so far, not a lot of quitting them. Not a lot of quitting them. Being clutch will cover up a whole lot of things. Luckily, the Giants looking like a pretty solid baseball team. Being clutch on top of that, I seem to remember a team not that long ago who won 107 games with that formula. Inexplicable? Sure. Ends justify the means, folks. I don't know if we're getting to 107 this year, but a lot of reasons to feel optimistic about the San Francisco Giants. 9-1, 8-1. We're going to find out once somebody at the league office makes a determination on how many innings were actually played in this game. Far from typical. Not even a full Manfred 7. But the Giants win this ball game tonight against the Yankees as rain takes away at least, 2 2/3 innings, something to that effect. So they're going to play tomorrow. Jordan Hicks on the bump. They'll play again on Sunday, maybe. Who's to say? Maybe they have to play twice on Sunday. 4-game stretch with the Phillies. After that, fly to Anaheim, play the Angels. This is a put up or shut up road trip for the San Francisco Giants. Y'all think you're pretty good? Lots of reasons to think you're pretty good. 10 wins on the season says you're pretty good. All right, put up or shut up. Let's find out what you're about. I don't care how you get it done. I don't need big numbers, gaudy stats, anything like that. Go win some ball games against some quality teams. And right now, the Angels qualify as a quality team. Will that be the case in July, August, and September? No. But as of right now, they're playing as good a ball as anybody. You know the Phillies can bring it. They got star power. They got depth. They got everything you need to be a World Series contender. And the Yankees represented the American League last year. Giants want to be considered a quality baseball team, something better than mediocre. Hey, good start. No questions asked on that start. Good stuff. Put up or shut up. Road trips are where you define the quality of your team. A lot of teams can win at home. Not a lot of teams can win on the road. I would hate to be the Athletics, who just don't even have a home. All right, we are going to talk to Jake Hutchinson in a little bit, but in the meantime, let's go out to the phone lines. Mike in SF wants to talk 49ers. We're happy to oblige here on Sports Phone KNBR. Mike, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Dieter. Nice to talk to you again.
Yeah.
The game tonight, I posted one tweet about the Yankees series. Get Stroman out by the 4th inning and get to their bullpen, and we win the series.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good call.
But I'm not here to talk to you about that tonight. I'm not here to talk to you about that tonight, my brother.
What you got?
We got, last time we talked, I mentioned to you Jedrick Willis Jr., and he was the player that someone pushed me in the right direction to find a pass blocking lineman for the Niners, and that's what I sought out, and that's what he is. But I've got a pretty good handle on watching video and coming up with the best player in the draft at a certain position. And for football, it's offensive line.
Okay.
I put in over 100 hours watching the offensive line this year, and I could say that without a doubt. Mike Tice, the former Vikings O-line coach, is the only person that agrees with me. Josh Connolly Jr. is the best offensive lineman in this draft. Have you had a chance to watch him?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I've watched a lot of Connery. I've watched You said 100 hours? Yeah, I've been spending 5 months on this thing. It's I don't know where the hours
I do
are.
spend a lot of time on it. I do spend a lot of time on it.
Well, tell me first why you like Connery while I pull up my notes on him here. I got a whole little database on my computer that I can pull up. You tell me why you like Connery, so I refresh my memory here.
Okay, Oregon's offense. Well, West Coast first of all. Oregon. They were practically the best team in college football last year. Secondly,
I went to the Rose Bowl, and I have a very different opinion on that.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at the records I see.
They were number one in the country. They were number one in the country for a very long time. Then they played a real football team and got their teeth kicked in. But you are accurate. They were very good this year.
Their teeth. Okay, cool. So, like, Connerly, the offense revolved around him. Unlike who's the right tackle that everybody's kind of big up on because he grunted at the combine and threw up 31 reps on the bench. Membo.
Be careful here. Be careful here when we're talking about Armand Membu. Be careful now.
Okay, no.
Best offensive lineman in this class.
Okay, well, that's where I'm trying to explain the difference. Membo, he had a very similar video to Connerly, and we're only talking about 15 minutes of watching highlights, right? So we don't know these. I don't know these guys inside and out, but I'm looking at Membo's video, and I see a guy that doesn't make any mistakes. And and is good in pass and run protection. But with Connerly, there's a different story. He's the fastest man off the ball. It doesn't look like it, but I somehow managed to call that before the combine even happened. He was the fastest man off the ball within 10 yards. It's called the shuttle. 10-yard shuttle?
Well, no, I mean 10-yard split, and then there's a
split,
and then there's the shuttle drill. Yeah. There's a bunch of different combine stuff. His tape tells that exact story. He fires off. He has incredible speed into space. You want him firing off the edge of a line. He's got great feet, elite feet, and in an outside zone system, he makes all the sense in the world. My concern with him strictly is his lack of anchor. And he gets very lost when he is left in space. So he is able to make space, not just with his feet, but also in certain schemes. I think he can read it. I think he can react to it. I think he can get bogged down sometimes when he does have a lot going on around him. So he is a very, very good. He's a first round worthy player. A lot more Joe Noteboom than he is maybe a Trent Williams if we had to go on a comp. But if you're talking about an outside zone tackle, right? So somebody who you're trying to pull out, get into space, get to that second level, hand guys off, there's a lot to love here. My concern is you're getting pass protection issues because the guy just doesn't have an anchor. He can't set his feet and hold you. He can't set his feet and hold you.
Okay, well, I saw something a lot different. I thought you were talking about the getting 20 yards downfield or picking up a secondary target.
That's run blocking. He's a very, very good run blocker.
But in pass protection, I saw him as the best pass protector in the draft because when I played quarterback and I didn't play even in high school. I, tried out, but that's about it.
Yeah.
When I got a guy within say 6-7 feet of me, I started to rethink things on the blind side, especially.
Yeah.
On the blind side, especially. And with him, I saw him holding out more people with the most basic of pass protection techniques. just hands inside, quick hit to the chest, and
Oh,
he
yeah, he can do
definitely
that.
does. He definitely does drive people farther back in the run game than anybody on the tackle
this is
position.
what I'm talking about, Mike. I mean, this is a McGlinchey-esque tackle in a lot of ways. If you let the most elite part of him work, which is he's got a big body, but he has elite feet. If you let those feet work going forward, where he's got some momentum behind him, he can do really wondrous stuff. The issue is on pass protection when you're stepping back, he just cannot handle power. And I highly recommend you watch. I don't think Jack Sawyer is an NFL level prospect. I wouldn't draft him in 100 years. A lot of people do like him. I will say this about Jack Sawyer, the Ohio State defensive end. He brings it. He's got motor. Watch what Jack Sawyer did to him in the 2 games Ohio State played against Oregon this year. He worked him. He worked him left, right, and center, and that is just merely somebody who wanted it more, who had a higher drive and understood the nuance of pass rush. Doesn't necessarily mean you got to have the whole bag and all the hand motions and all that stuff. Sometimes it's about running through a blanker's face, and Jack Sawyer certainly can do that. He can set an edge for you if you need to on the defensive end. And I'm very concerned, and I wouldn't draft Connerly in the first round, even though I do think he's worthy of going in the first round to certain teams. I'd be too concerned about his anchor and his inability to hold the line, especially on the left side, especially on the blind side. I'd be too concerned about that. There will be teams that like him. I think the 49ers are going to like him plenty because of his run blocking ability. But I also want to note to everybody, the Niners aren't in a position where they need to take an offensive tackle. They need 2 defensive tackles, a defensive end, a weak side linebacker, a safety, and a corner. That's just the defense. You need starting caliber players. I guess starting caliber players at each of those spots. You need a left guard, you need a swing tackle, and you need an X receiver for week 1. They didn't get any of them in free agency. You're going to need to get all of those guys in the draft or on the fringes of guys who get cut in the next few weeks after the draft, which is not a big number. Going out and taking a guy like Connerly, who you can justify doing it. He is not a bad player. He should be in the NFL. He has a chance. I'm just listing off my risks, the things that I don't like. The things that I like, I listed those off as well. Every player has ups and downs, save for the very best. Taking a player like Connerly, who has a lot of risk in his game because of his lack of anchor, where at best he's a bigger version of a Mike McGlinchey, at best a bigger version of a Colton McKivitz. He's never a Trent Williams. Taking the Trent Williams replacement with somebody who isn't obviously going to just take that job at right tackle immediately and cannot go on the inside and play guard immediately. That is a draft pick that serves very little purpose outside of maybe having him as a swing tackle. It serves very little purpose to a team that has a lot of purpose in this draft, has a lot of needs in this draft. And I can appreciate we're all going to view this from a different area. I'm not telling anybody who thinks that Josh Connerly is the best offensive lineman in this draft that they're wrong. I have a differing opinion, much like I have a differing opinion on Jedrick Wills, who how do I put this nicely, has underperformed to date. Let's put it that way. Regardless, I want to get into all this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. I love breaking down prospects. I've spent the last 5 months watching way too much of this, and I've been doing it with my buddy Jake Hutchinson, the 49ers insider, and I'm excited to talk to him on the other side of the break. So hang with us. 808 KNBR is the number, but let's get Jake on the line on the other side, and let's talk some NFL draft and some 49ers on The Sports Leader. Test 1 and 2.
This is where we feed the faithful. Sports Phone, KNBR. Streaming live at twitch.tv/The Sports Leader.
We're back with you on The Sports Leader. Dieter Kurtenbach hanging out until 9 p.m. It's Sports Phone KNBR, and this has been a long time coming, folks. We are so happy to be joined once again by the all-star of all all-stars from KNBR tonight back in the day. It's one 49ers insider and an idiot who does a podcast with a guy named Dieter, Jake Hutchinson, back on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Jake, how are we doing this evening?
We're doing great. It's good to be back. It feels like home. Feels right.
This has just been, it's been too long. I mean, I talk to you all day, every day. So honestly, on a personal level, it has not been too long. Frankly, it should be longer. But for the audience, I know that there have been plenty of people in not just recent weeks, but recent months wondering, hey, when are you going to talk to Jake again? And it's like, when am I not going to talk to Jake again? But to bring it to the air again, marvelous, fantastic, and I hope everybody has as much fun as we're about to have talking NFL draft and the San Francisco 49ers. Let's start with the actual NFL team and not these kids that were playing in college. As it stands now, what do you make of this Brock Purdy 49ers contract fiasco?
Yeah, the 49ers seem like they're gearing up to do the thing that they love to do, which is to drag this thing out, make everybody deeply annoyed and uncomfortable and stressed in effort to search for the best possible deal, which, yeah, of course, search for the best possible deal. That's what every franchise should do. But we all asked the question sort of at the end of the season, given how the Ayuk negotiations went and how they've handled things in the past, have they learned their lesson? Are they going to maybe take a more proactive approach, try and get a deal done early, given that this is the biggest thing looming over them, and it's going to be the biggest deal they do in a very long time? Are they going to be proactive, get it done early, get it out of the way? And from the sounds of things, from John Lynch, and the way they've talked about it, doesn't sound imminent. Although you wouldn't know that from Jed York, who continues to just say, yeah, we're gonna spend whatever money we feel like on Brock Purdy. Don't worry about that. The guys negotiating will figure that thing out.
I mean, it might be more difficult to figure out now that Jed York has said, oh yeah, we're going to break the bank for him. Anything he wants, he'll have. I mean, these are great negotiation tactics. And I say this as one of the worst negotiators on the planet, which is why I still fill in here at KNBR as opposed to bigger and brighter things. Do you have any gut feel, any prevailing sense? I don't know how to... Do you got a date? Do you have a number in mind? Do you have a date in mind? Like, how does this thing all end, Jake? Give me tomorrow's headline today.
If I had to say gut feeling, I would say the first cycle of training camp. Not the first day, but it gets uncomfortable, and then they all, come together, and it's day 3 or day 4 or whatever. Whenever they start letting fans in before them, that's when I think this thing gets done.
And we're not going to have like Brock throwing on a side field or something. We're right behind the fans in the stands.
The ghost of Jimmy Garoppolo. I did really enjoy that, where we were all supposed to sort of ignore that Jimmy Garoppolo was just very clearly there, very clearly throwing, but was a castaway who just stayed on the team and then started for them. Fun times, folks. Remember that?
It was incredible. I believe there was at one point I was told specifically, don't look that way, which just made me want to look harder. As somebody with a toddler, like saying, don't look that way, a guarantee I'm going to look that way. We are all still toddlers in mind. The Niners obviously didn't really do much of anything in free agency. Of the few moves that they made, did any of them stand out in a positive way for you?
I mean, I think the Mac Jones signing is a quality, decent backup. I know people hate on Mac Jones, and that's totally fair. But the reality is you're upset at Mac Jones mostly because you have scar tissue from when the 49ers traded up to 3 overall. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us, understandably and not poorly informed, thought that they were going to take Mac Jones at 3. And they didn't. But the thing was, he has a lack of athleticism that scared people off and scared me off. And I was like, no, don't spend the 3rd overall pick on Mac Jones. But as a backup quarterback who's a pretty decent processor, who's pretty sharp, who just puts the ball kind of where it should go, that was always why he was a semi-enticing option. Like, he just should have been a 3rd-round quarterback, not a 1st-rounder. But everybody lost their mind during COVID. So I think Mac Jones was like a solid backup quarterback to have, especially on a 2-year deal, and especially since Kyle clearly likes him and it's mutual.
Listen, he's a very good backup quarterback. One of the things that has stood out to me, at least in 2024, was that they didn't have a viable backup quarterback, right? And because they didn't have somebody who could reasonably push Brock, not to say that anyone was going to take Brock's job, but just somebody there who made Brock's life a little more difficult. Just he had to think about him every now and again. He never had to think about Josh Dobbs. He never had to think about Allen. Those guys were never going to take his job, and if they were in, the Niners were going to lose the game, as we saw when they lost the games those guys played. Brock is a guy who has consistently operated with a chip on his shoulder, and this isn't to say that Brock was bad last year, and it isn't to say that Brock's 2024 was the reason the Niners sucked in 24. It is to say, it's an interesting thing to note, I should say, that was the first year, perhaps in Brock Purdy's entire life, where he did not have somebody doubting him from an organizational standpoint, right? It's the first year where you could say Brock Purdy didn't need the chip on his shoulder. So having a guy like Mac Jones, who could he start for you in a pinch for 3 or 4 games? Absolutely. You might even win 1 or 2 of them. That's a much different dynamic to have to deal with than when Sam Darnold was here, and you had some nonsense, no question about it, with, hey, Sam Darnold should start. But it's much, much different than what they had last year, which is if Brock's not here, we're done. Not having that anymore, I think, is a huge win for the 49ers because, as we've noted a million times, as anyone who's ever watched knows, Brock ain't exactly the biggest dude in the world. He's not exactly Cam Newton or Josh Allen. Like, he might miss games. You need to be in a position to win those because you don't have a lot of margin for error moving forward.
And how many times has Kyle Shanahan told us how important it is to have a quality backup quarterback, only to last year go, well, we can't pay for one, so it doesn't matter anymore.
What if we get 2 bad ones instead?
Right, and then everybody just pretended like the Josh Dobbs experience was some holier thing than it was, which is like, oh yeah, he might win you a game and he also might completely implode. That's what it is. It's a roulette wheel spin. It's definitely more fun than the Brandon Allen experience, but it's a lot more chaotic. This at least gets you some level of competency behind him, and that matters. The quarterback is obviously the most important, valuable position in sports, and to not have a capable backup is it's kind of negligent.
Well, I mean, the Atlanta Falcons believe that. They're paying $100 million to their backup quarterback. So clearly they've prioritized it, and maybe you should go the way of the Atlanta Falcons, though I would pay $100 million to your starting quarterback. But I don't know. I'm not a negotiator. I don't know any of these things. As it stands currently, Jake, I'm looking at a 49ers roster that's appreciably worse. I don't think anybody, including the most optimistic rose-colored glasses sort of person, would say that this 49ers roster got better. Got cheaper, but it didn't get better. And as it stands to me, they need, and I'm just going to run through them real fast here. I'm sure you already know this, but for the audience, they need 2 starting caliber defensive tackles. They need a starting caliber defensive end. They need a starting caliber weak side linebacker. They need a starting caliber cornerback. They need a starting caliber safety. That's your defense. They need a starting caliber left guard, or at least competition for 2 guys in Spencer Burford and Ben Barch at training camp. And I think that they need a starting caliber X wide receiver. They didn't, I know they signed a guy. I don't think that he qualifies. He might not even play the first couple of weeks. We know Brandon Ayuk isn't going to be playing the first couple of weeks, no matter what nonsense is being thrown out there on the internet these days. That is, what is that? 7, 8, 9 starters that you need. And the Niners have declared to the world, John Lynch, unambiguously, we're all in on the draft. That is an impossible ask, no question. When you look at this draft class, I mean, how many starters do you think they could possibly get out of this thing?
Well, the thing about starters is that if you play a guy there, he's a starter.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point.
So they might get guys who start for them, but in terms of like quality caliber guys, it's going to be a tough ask. I mean, I think you got 4 picks in the top 100, and then you get another 113. So that's 5 in the first 113. You're going to need at least 3 high-quality players out of those picks, and you probably need more because 3 of your 11 picks that you keep bandying around are basically undrafted free agent caliber, late 7th-round selections.
Right.
So my thing with the 49ers is, could you hit on this? Sure, absolutely you could, but you're kind of threading the needle in a draft that I think is pretty strong at defensive end, defensive tackle. I like the corners, and running back's great. Running back is probably the deepest position in this draft. And then there's a lot of other spots that are pretty shaky, and some spots that don't have any clear first-round blue-chip talent, and some spots like tight end where if you miss on the 1 or 2 guys that are worth picking up, there's no one there for you. So
when you say there's a position without first-round talent, what position stands out to you in that regard?
Yeah, I don't know that there's actually a first-round wide receiver.
Wow.
I think, Tet McMillan is like a fringe guy. So is Matthew Golden, Luther Burden. Those guys, you could make the argument they're first-round caliber, but last year they wouldn't have been first-round talent. So I see them as fringe first-rounders who are getting probably bumped up because of the quality of the class. Linebacker, I don't see a clear first rounder. Jahad Campbell's the name that gets bandied around, but he's coming off of a torn labrum, and there's other concerns. Safety, like I like Malachi Starks, but there's some testing concerns there. Nick Anwari is only a testing guy. So there's a few positions where it's like there isn't a first round talent and guys are going to go in the first round.
You mentioned the very late picks that the Niners have, those late 200 picks. Is there a position grouping that would suit the 49ers to maybe save until there, a bottom-heavy position group or a draft class that a lot of good lottery tickets that you can take late? Does any position stand out in that regard?
Yeah, I think wide receiver is probably the best spot for that because it's an interesting class. Like, again, I don't know that there's clear blue chip talent, but there's a lot of interesting players that, depending on what scheme you run, depending on what you're looking for in a wide receiver, you can really find a guy. There's guys like Andrew Armstrong out of Arkansas, who's a guy that just was the SEC's leading receiver with a bad quarterback and a bad offense, who tested pretty well, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that guy's an undrafted free agent. It's like, okay, I mean, I'll spend a 7th-round pick on him. So wide receiver is a spot I think you can find some late-round value in this draft.
As it pertains to Brandon Ayuk, how far behind the 8 ball does that put the 49ers, not really knowing if he's going to be around until Halloween, Thanksgiving? I know they're putting out a positive spin right now saying he can come back in week 1. It's just very difficult for me to believe given the extent of his injury to his knee, where it's all the ligaments and some cartilage. But other than that, the knee's fine. How far behind the 8 ball does it put him? Because they don't have a Deebo Samuel now. I mean, they've lost some offensive firepower. And as much as Brandon Ayuk did not perform in the 6 games he played last year, the reason they gave him that contract after all the nonsense was that he was clearly Brock Purdy's number 1 target in 2023. He was the go-to guy, and they didn't want to break up that relationship. Now that the relationship has been broken up a little bit, like where do the Niners stand at wide receiver, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, first, all the ligaments and some cartilage sounds like a Slipknot song I would have loved in middle school.
Disgusting. Just Junko jeans of a song.
Just awful. It's not great. It's not great, Dieter. It doesn't put them in a good spot. I know that's a hot take to put over these airwaves, but I would say they are. They're going to need Ricky Pearsall to be awesome. We are both fans of him. I think he's great. Outside of that, they've got Juwan Jennings, who saw the off-season workout mixtape. You gotta love those. You gotta love the idea.
What was the go-to song? I did not see that. What was the song?
I didn't see the song. I just, he's just pumping the arms. You know what it is.
Love it. Can't get enough of it. Jennings, though, let's dive in on Jennings a little bit. He had some monster games, no question about it. He was obviously very good in the role that he was thrust into, with Deebo being unable to separate from any man coverage, with Pearsall not being ready because he got shot before the season started, and then with Ayuk starting slow and then getting injured. Like, Juwan Jennings was a lifesaver, but as the season progressed, diminished returns on Juwan Jennings. It was pretty clear as to why he stood where he stood on the depth chart to begin it. He's not a guy who can separate. He's a guy who you kind of have to throw with anticipation and then hope he can win a 50-50 ball. Like, that's the best case scenario with him. And we saw Brock forcing it to him a lot. And I think that a lot of Brock's mistakes late in the season were he didn't trust anybody else because he didn't get to a point of rapport with Pearsall until very late in the season. So in that in-between time when the season was on the line, he was force-feeding Juwan Jennings. Everybody knew it. You think about the terrible interceptions that he had, like against the Rams, that was a force feed to Juwan Jennings. Like, I don't know. What do you expect from Juwan Jennings in 25?
I think they need to move him back to the slot. And I think pretending like he's an X receiver is not really smart. It's not like, we know what Juwan Jennings is. He's an elite slot receiver who wins with physicality, who's got a little bit of shift at the break-off point at the top of his routes, can run a great out route, and he's an awesome third down target. Right. And he produced pretty well for the 49ers, but as the season goes, like, you can't throw the ball deep to Juwan. He doesn't have the speed for it. He's got the catch radius. Right, but he's a little bit like some of these wide receivers in this class that are like solely using physicality to snap off. So I would expect another good year from Juwan. I really like him as a player, as a receiver, but I think he should be back to his natural position in the slot. And I think Pearsall should be the X receiver. And so that at least sets you up where Pearsall's playing the right spot. He's developing in the role that he was sort of meant to be in. And then Juwan Jennings is back to where he was. And then whatever Demarcus Robinson, I love signing a guy who's not going to play for the first 3 games to like
the 3 games you need him. The 3
right,
games you need him the most.
Right. You're just, did they not know? I don't know what that's about. But like, that's the entire point of signing a Demarcus Robinson. Obviously, he can help you throughout the year, but you needed him at the start more than anything. So I think the offense could look really, really ugly at the start of the season. You got no Ayuk, Robinson probably suspended. You got Pearsall, who's, great, but like still going into year 2.
Yeah.
And maybe Brock Purdy holding out. So nothing to see, nothing to worry about. Should be smooth sailing, folks.
All right, Jake, hang with us here. I want to hit this commercial break, and then I want to come back and just go over some of, just throw some names at me with the draft. We'll do that with Jake Hutchinson on the other side here. Kurtenbach with you until 9 p.m. on the Sports Leader.
This is where we feed the faithful. Sports Phone, KNBR. Streaming live at twitch.tv/The Sports Leader.
We're back with you, the sports leader, Dieter Kurtenbach, hanging out with long-lost friend Jake Hutchinson, 49ers Insider, Dieter and Hutch podcast. I don't know who that Dieter guy is, but he's really holding you back. Jake, so happy for you to be back on with us. And your expertise, amongst many, is NFL draft stuff. And I know you have a draft guide coming out again with the aforementioned Dieter, whoever the hell he is, a bunch of very sick breakdowns, and I mean sick in all terms. Tell me a little bit about this draft guide or tell the audience about the draft guide. I know all about it already.
Yeah, I've been actually living underground for the past few months, folks. And I have been just grinding tape. That's all I have been doing. And I mean that sincerely. I've been grinding tape for the past few months and just watching the NFL draft, using tape, looking at what the numbers are. And I gave basically, I think it's more than 200 players now. I've broken down more than 200 players at each position. And just what is the upside look for them if they work out as a player? What is the downside? What is the superlative that sort of encapsulates what they are as a player? Some of them are a little deranged. I won't lie to you. And then you got player comps, but you get an order position by position, and you get a deep detailed breakdown of a ton of these players, and it's north of 200.
Well, and you get my 150 in there, you get some of my hot takes in there, and we're really excited to throw it out there to the public. But this is not a promotional vehicle. This is Sports Phone KNBR. And, Jake, this NFL draft, the Niners are all in, man. They could not be more all in. They are dangerously down bad as it pertains to this draft. They need this thing to work out in the worst kind of way. They have put out a second mortgage on the first mortgage, and now they are playing the lottery with that mortgage. And I'm you know me, I'm not feeling all that optimistic about it. But let's help John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and whomever else is in that war room. Let's help them out by throwing some names their way. And Jake, pretty simple premise here. I just want you to tell me about your favorite prospect. Maybe not the best one, maybe not the sleeper. Just give me a guy. Give me a Jake Hutchinson stamp of approval guy. Who's your quarterback, Jake? In this draft class, who's your quarterback? Who do you like?
My quarterback is Will Howard from Ohio State, and I know that's an extremely deranged take.
No, it's perfect. You can like a guy. We're not saying take him 1 overall. You're saying what? Take him 3rd, 4th round?
That's exactly where I take him. That's exactly where I'm taking him. And it's a really weak quarterback class. Will Howard's a guy to me that he is ideal size. He's got enough athleticism to escape pressure, run a little bit. And you watch some of the tape and listen, he makes some head-scratching throws, no question about it. But he also throws absolute darts into really tight windows where you watch it and you go, that's like a top 10% throw that not a lot of guys can make. So Will Howard's a guy that, listen, does he have like the greatest arm talent I've ever seen? No, but he has quality arm talent. He's got great size. I think he sees the field pretty well. He's a little bit of a gunslinger, but he can also fit into tight windows, and he's going to trust his talent. He understands his own team's talent pretty well. Granted, Ohio State, full of it, but I really liked what I saw from Will Howard.
All right, let's swing it over to the defensive side, and we won't keep you much longer here. Talking to the great Jake Hutchinson, 49ers Insider. Defensive tackle. Who's the guy? This is one that actually, you might need to give me 2 because the Niners need 2 defensive tackles out of this class. Who are you advising John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to take at defensive tackle?
Vernon Broughton. He's my favorite player in this entire draft class. He's out of Texas. He's a guy where if you ever use the PFF mock draft tool, he was like not on the board and then suddenly like 60 overall.
Shifting markets, Jake. We're shifting markets.
I'm telling you, this guy's the truth. He was, I think literally PFF ranked him as like a top 5 defensive tackle pass rusher, and that bears out. And he's described as a run stopper, which he is. He is one of the rare guys in this class with massive size, but the ability to 2-gap, to hold up against a double team block and stand there. And sometimes he can split it. Like, he's going to hold his gap in the run game. He's really sound. And then in the pass game, he has no business being as big as he is with the hands that he has to swipe and use overarm moves and just get past guys. You watch the Ohio State game in the CFP, he was an absolute menace. I cannot say anything more positive about Vernon Broughton. I love him.
Give me another guy. Who you get Broughton? Are you going Walter Nolan at 11? Are you looking for someone a little bit later on? Is there a mid-round guy? Like, give me another name here.
I'll go with C.J. West. C.J. West.
Now we're talking,
baby.
That's my guy. That's my dude. C.J. West just wins. That's what the W stands for in West. Wins.
He absolutely does. If you watch, the Shrine Bowl's awesome because, they're not snarky and they give you film access.
He's gone now. We don't have to worry about Jim Nagy's.
That's right.
Terrible.
That's right. It's incredible.
I'm excited. We're going to Mobile next year on principle now.
Genuinely. And so C.J. West, you watch him in the Shrine Bowl, he's cooking guys.
Just
every single play, he's cooking. And then I watch his Indiana tape, and he's still cooking. And he can hold up in the run game. He's a lower dude, so he's a little squattier. But what that means, it's not necessarily a negative thing. It means he's always winning the pad level game. So he's got great leverage. He's got incredible speed off the ball and some wiggle to just dominate. I love him. He's right behind Broughton on my board.
Well, hey, from your lips to God's ears, or I guess in this case, John Lynch's ears, and they got their work cut out for them. There's no question about it. I won't ask you to go in on long snappers or kickers or punters, because if the Niners draft any of those things, we riot on 49-49. But Jake, this has been a riot, man. This has been a blast. So glad to have you back on the leader. I'll tell you right now, we're going to do it again soon. Appreciate having you on, buddy.
Thanks for having me back on. Feels good to be home, folks.
The great Jake Hutchinson, ladies and gentlemen. Let's thank our great guest, Jake Hutchinson, 49ers Insider, some show called the Dieter and Hutch Podcast. You can check it out on YouTube. Let's thank everybody who called in, everybody who texted in. Yes, every single one of you. Thank you. Let's thank the great Jacob Violante for managing a chaotic show this evening. I'm Dieter Kurtenbach. I'll see you on the other side of it all. Have a great weekend, everybody. Good night.